Back in 2010, I was in Dunstable looking at a campaign to save the high street. Things weren't looking too good. But now we've been back to see why vacancy rates have dropped and some shops are thriving. Sophie Solaria has been to meet those who've really turned the high street around.
This is Eden, this is our youngest daughter. She's watching the till today. This is where we keep all our live food. We have 2 fresh deliveries a week. This feeds the whole area's lizards, frogs. This is Archie. He is our Burmese python.
When you think of what makes a successful high street shop, reptiles may not be the first thing that springs to mind.
And this is another one of our long-term residents, Brian. She is an alligator. We've had her since she was a couple of years old. She, Brian, yeah.
When Wrigley's had just opened their store, it's fair to say that Dunstable High Street was failing. There were over 50 vacant shops and the high street looked bleak. Yet somehow, Wrigley's made a success of it.
We had our business plan, we'd been to the bank, we'd sorted out our bank accounts, and literally days within signing the lease, the 2008 recession was announced, and it's one of the worst ones we've ever had. We had to carry on. We couldn't give the money back to the bank. We couldn't unsign the lease, so we carried on, and here we are 10 years later.
In 2010, we saw for ourselves how bad things were. In terms of empty shops, Dunstable was the worst performing high street in the East. We met 2 local women called Sharon. They'd just launched Don't Let Dunstable Die, with the aim of saving their high street.
We've been described as activists. That's quite nice in a way, but I just think that it's purely driven by the passion that we've got to see the town go back to what it was like. We're just 2 housewives that have decided that we hopefully are going to make a change.
The Sharons pushed for action. They campaigned for lower business rates and for the council to help with improvements. They got what they wanted, and it seems to have worked. Dunstable has reopened nearly half of all the shops that were shut in 2010. And while the number of empty shops are on the rise across the UK, Dunstable's continue to drop. Now, only 30 empty shops remain. For the Sharons, it's a great result.
You guys were determined not to let Dunstable die. It certainly hasn't died. How proud are you for what you've achieved?
Well, personally very proud because it's our hometown. We're both born and bred here. And to see the community come together has been really outstanding.
And if you want to see some of the success of Dunstable, you only have to come here to Middle Row. These shops were empty. Now they're bustling and they're benefiting from the 0 business rates that the council have given them. So hopefully they should be here for a long, long time to come.
The turnaround is in part down to the determination of local people like Sharon and Sharon. Central Bedfordshire Council has also played a big part. In the last 2 years, they've spent £3 million revitalising the town. Councillor Nigel Young wants to show me how they've spent the money.
Well, this is a very good example of one of the shops that we partnered with to create new signage, a whole new shop front, new doors.
Have you helped a lot of shops in Dunstable in this way?
Yeah, we put it out to all the shops. Those that wanted to participate, we designed what we could do with their shop fronts. We probably spent about £500,000 in isolation on our high street improvement scheme.
This is going to be their 50th year we're here. So that's quite something, isn't it?
You've been here 50 years?
We've been in this premises 21 years, but we've been in Dunstable 50 years. The financial crashes, the recessions, all the ongoing problems that the high street has had, which we've experienced as well. We've created a social environment here, right? This is a small community of local people who come and see us every day.
They've spent £1.5 million improving the roads and pavements to make it easier for pedestrians too. It would seem the look of the high street is crucial to its success. But if the shops are privately owned, the council have limited power.
Nigel, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it, that amongst all this success in Middle Row, you've then all of a sudden got this eyesore. What is the council doing about the derelict buildings that still exist?
Well, this building's interesting because some years ago the owner of this building was taken to court by us. He was fined some thousands of pounds. He didn't do the work. We took him back to court. He was fined some thousands of pounds again and still hasn't done the work.
So it doesn't work, basically.
It's extremely difficult.
So what you're saying is that if a shop is owned privately, the council have very little power if they don't want to do it up to the same standard as the rest of the shops around them.
No, we have to do it by persuasion and by example. You know, there are some really nice shops. This could easily be one of them.
It's a real shame, isn't it?
It is.
Local businesses have worked together and they have more ideas for the future.
We really need to see shop fronts kept clean, painted if they're not being used, just so it looks a little bit more presentable when coming through the town centre.
I think the biggest bugbear in Dunstable is still the parking. Even if the first hour was free, I think that would be a good incentive for customers to continue to shop in Dunstable.
One of the things the businesses are telling us locally is that they would like to see more parking, free parking.
Yeah.
Would you do that? Would you give free parking?
Well, I don't think that's a plan that we have, although in phase 2 of this, we are planning to put some free short-term parking right on the high street here. Shops like Sainsbury's, just on the edge of town, with free parking. Tend to put a 3-hour limit on that anyway. Otherwise they'll get a lot of commuter traffic.
3 hours is better than one, though.
It is.
If you've only got 1 hour of parking for free, people tend to only stay for an hour, and you want people to stay longer, surely?
We do want people to stay longer. That's why I think it's £1 or £1.50 for 2 hours. It's really significantly less than a cup of coffee.
Just how important is the community of Dunstable when it comes to the council's work? Community pages on Facebook, such as the Don't Let Dunstable Die project, for example.
Well, it's extremely important. And Lee Roberts, one of our businesses, has his own Facebook page, which, as it happens, is Let's Paint Dunstable. So he'll be delighted to hear that we're about to fund that lick of paint jointly with some of the shop owners.
Now don't be scared of the name Python, okay?
Since opening Wrigley's in 2008, Hazel and her husband Kevin have opened 2 more reptile shops, making their empire a grand total of 3. So what's the secret to their success?
We created Wrigley's to be a destination. We want people to come away from the internet. I once met a child that had never touched a real tortoise, and it just broke my heart. We often have the animals out just walking around the shop, so children and adults, we do adult encounters as well, that they can come in and see the animals, interact with the animals.
No one's pretending it's easy. As more of us shop online, our high streets have to adapt or die. And despite their apparent success, both Hazel and her husband Kevin have to work 2 jobs to support their reptile shops.
It's not been easy. It's not been easy because we're constantly fighting with the internet. So our rent here is just over £2,000 a month. Our rates are about £250 a week. We have our own bins collected, that's another £150 a month. Mark works on and off at the airport, at Luton Airport, and I clean in the evenings and a factory. If we took a proper full wage from the business, we wouldn't have what we have now.
What I've seen in Dunstable is a community determined to keep its high street alive. A job well done, but also a project that will continue into the future.
Do you ever see yourself giving up?
No. Sometimes you feel like giving up when you're on there at 11 o'clock at night, but no, it's our passion. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't want to make the town better than it already is. So it's about continuing and see where we get to.